Hi, this is my good friend, Allison Stillman, who I met in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I took a class from her 30 years ago, almost to the day, 30 years ago. And she introduced me to this amazing world of essential oils. And I'm so grateful because it has been a huge part of my life. So, Allison, thank you so much for talking with us and spreading this fantastic information and doing oils yourself and being an aromatherapist and teaching about the history of these beautiful oils that we get to use.
Thank you so much, Terry. And I am just absolutely thrilled to be able to share time and space with you in any way that I can get it. Because as you said, we've been really good friends. It was kind of that instant recognition of each other and have been in lifelong sisters in many other lifetimes, but it's like we found each other again. And I'm grateful to the oils that made that happen. But they do that. They have this really amazing ability to do that, to bring you to exactly where you need to go and show you exactly what you need to see. And my journey actually started, I was trying to figure out the timing of it without dating myself too much, but let's just say 45 years ago plus, I started my journey into the world of aromatherapy in this lifetime anyway. I know I have done it in many, many lifetimes. And it started with a very simple experience of smelling wild rhododendron in a redwood forest. And it captivated my nose and carried me deep into the forest of the redwood trees. And I followed this fragrance and I came into this beautiful 6-foot tall pink rhododendron in full bloom, and I just buried my face in it. And the smell overtook every sense. I could taste it, I could see the color, I could feel it on my skin. And it awakened this very strong awareness of I have a very strong sense of smell. And so after that experience, I set on a quest to learn everything I could about aroma and aromatic plants and fragrances. And it has taken me on an amazing, miraculous journey, studying with the world's leading aromatherapists and distilling and growing and the world's leading distillers and making my own oils and many other experiences. But it was that one time of smelling a fragrance that set me on my course.
That is so great. You know, you're such a good teacher. You know so much about it. So your quest was really for a great advantage for you and everybody else. Could you tell me a little bit about the history of essential oils and how they came about?
Yes, actually, they have been in existence and been used as far as reporting has gone back 10,000 years. And the oldest reported use of essential oils is in Vedic medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. And we also see evidence dating back even further, 18,000 years. There are caves in the south of France, in the Dordogne region, that depict people using aromatic plants and smelling them and making pastes and using them on the body. So it dates back a long, long way. We really lost the use of essential oils about 2,500 years ago when the Christian Revolution, Inquisition started, because it's such a powerful, powerful tool to balance, align, harmonize the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. It's also a great awakener for consciousness and connecting into divinity and those kinds of things. And so that really became the domain of the church. And of course, through the whole 1,000-year Inquisition, anyone that was caught using anything like essential oils or herbs was burned at the stake, buried, stoned, drowned. So we lost aromatherapy for quite a long time. And it wasn't until the early 1920s that we rediscovered aromatherapy again. And it was quite by accident. Maurice Gattifas was in his laboratory studying plants, and he burned himself in the lab, and he had a vat of lavender, and he thought it was water, and he went to stick his arm in the vat of water, and but unbeknownst to him, it was the lavender. And he didn't blister, he didn't burn, he didn't scar, and he went, wow, there's something to this. So he did a very in-depth study of lavender, and that was really the re-emergence of aromatherapy in today's world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a great story. And he coined aromatherapy after that experience, right?
Yes, that's exactly where it started. It was using aromatic plants for some level of therapy.
Mm. You know, you have done distillation yourself and gathered your own flowers and gone through that process. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Because it's really in depth for and different for each flower, right?
Yes, it is. There are different formulas for every plant material, and it is a vast, vast body of knowledge, and there's nothing written about it. There is no place that you can go and study other than with the masters of distillation, which is what I chose to do. And they're very exacting formulas, like lavender wants to be distilled at a very low pressure for a small amount of time, where frankincense wants a higher temperature and higher pressure. The frankincense distillation I did with just a brilliant, brilliant distiller, we distilled the frankincense resin for 19 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? But that's how you get the maximum amount of oil out of that particular substance. And so every plant, every flower, every tree, every root, every grass has a different formula. And you only learn that through working with a master or by experimentation.
And that's a lot of flowers that you have to pick that could possibly go wrong if you don't have it at the right temperature.
That's correct.
Wow,
That's
that's a big risk.
Yes, it is. It is because, well, lavender is a pretty productive plant in the amount of oil per plant. But there are other things like rose oil. People always wonder, why is rose oil so expensive? It's almost up to $5 a drop for pure rose oil. But most people don't understand there's certain things like roses. It takes 65,000 hand-picked roses that need to be picked with the dew on them in the morning in order to get 1 ounce of essential oil, right? Which is a little teeny tiny bottle of essential oil. So when you think about the labor intensiveness of that, not to mention that it's a year-long process to even get roses to bloom. You know, they go through their dormancy, and then you've got to prune them, and then you've got to feed them, and then they go through their growing spurt, and then they produce their roses. And there's only one time of the year where you really can harvest roses. And so when you consider that and the amount of plant material that it takes to produce it, then you understand why it's so expensive. And it's also becoming quite a lost art, which is why pure rose oil is getting very, very hard to find, which is true with a lot of essential oils. A lot of them are going on the endangered species list.
Wow. So we have to be really careful about who we buy them from and make sure that these are conscientious producers, correct?
Yes, and in order to conserve them and preserve them for future generations, we really need to recognize the preciousness of these essential oils, and they are precious resources. And they've been with us, if you think about it, for thousands and thousands of years. So just as we've evolved, they have lived in our morphogenetic field, which means that they have been a part of the growth and evolution of their consciousness, as has ours. And so we're all made of the same elements, right? We're all made of fire and earth and air and water and ether. Well, so are plants. And so there's this very symbiotic relationship between them and us, which is why they work so brilliantly with us.
You know, in my class, I talk a lot about electromagnetic energy. And it is because of the high electromagnetic energy of essential oils that they are so potent and healing, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And they actually did a study. This was probably, oh gosh, maybe 25 years ago at the University of Washington. I was working with Gary Young when he founded Young Living years and years ago. And he was involved in this study, and they were studying the electromagnetic frequency of plants, dried herbs and plants, and essential oils. And essential oils are the concentrated volatile liquid compounds found in all plants, and all plants have them to some degree or another. And just like we have an electromagnetic frequency, we vibrate somewhere between 50 to 75. 50 when we're in a lower frequency, we're tired, we're stressed out, we haven't eaten, whatever it is. And then when we're optimum health and vibration, we're more up towards 70, 74, something like that. And essential oils all have those same frequencies. So for example, if you get a cold, flu, etc., your lungs get into a lower frequency. Well, eucalyptus can raise that frequency, and they measured the ability of eucalyptus to do that back in this study. And they found that even just the application of eucalyptus essential oil on the reflex points of the feet, which happen to be the balls of the feet, both top and bottom, if you massage eucalyptus oil into those reflex points within 20 minutes, you can raise the frequency of the lungs, which is why it's such a potent respiratory oil, right?
That is so great for people to know right now, especially.
Absolutely.
Yes, to help our immune system in any and every way. Essential oils are just fantastic.
Well, and when I got COVID, that was the thing that kept me from going to the hospital. I had a very hard time breathing, and so I started diffusing eucalyptus and some of the other respiratory oils, but predominantly 3 different types of eucalyptus oil in my diffuser 24/7 next to my bed. And I also massaged it into the reflex points of the feet, put a couple drops in the palms of my hand, and then cupped it over my nose and took some slow, deep breaths. That's what kept my lungs open, and that's what kept my respiratory system working so that I didn't have to go to the hospital back when I got COVID. So it was by far and away something everyone, absolutely everyone, has to have in their medicine cabinet is eucalyptus essential oil.
Right. You know, I wanted to ask you, because it's something that I fell in love with, are hydrosols. And I wanted to have you talk a little bit about hydrosols because they're really beautiful remnants of the process of distillation.
Exactly. So the predominant form of obtaining essential oils is through the process of distillation or steam distillation. And essentially what that is you take an alembic pot and you put all your plant material in it, and there's a screen on the bottom so that there's water underneath the plant material, and you put a source of heat underneath it, and you boil the water, and then the steam comes up through the plant material, and it breaks apart the plant material, and it captures all the aromatic molecules, goes through a condenser and into a cache pot. And in that cache pot, the steam deposits all the molecules, and there are water soluble molecules and there are oil molecules in plant material. And the water soluble molecules will stay on the bottom. And of course, oil and water don't mix. So the essential oil floats on the top, and you gather the essential oil off the top. And what's underneath is the hydrosol. And it has very much like the essential oil, only much lesser concentration of those water soluble molecules have the properties of your essential oil. However, because essential oils are really not meant to be ingested, hydrosols, because they are water molecules, we can take internally. And I'm going to bring a caveat in here that only if you know the source of your hydrosol and you know for fact that it is organic, because you don't want traces of pesticides and chemicals going into your body. We all know about that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I use hydrosols. I will actually fragrance rooms with them. And I also take, like I did a distillation with neroli blossoms. And neroli is one of the most heavenly essential oils there is. It's oftentimes called the oil of the angels. And we did a giant distillation. I brought out a bunch of people. This is when I was living in Ojai, and we got very little oil because it's another one that takes tons, and I literally tons of flowers to make 16 ounces of oil. And anyway, what we got was hydrosol, and neroli hydrosol, orange blossom hydrosol is heaven. And what I'll do is I'll put 2 or 3 squirts of it in a glass of water, and it'll fragrance all of the water. And the taste is sublime.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I've been there with you when we've had those beautiful neroli cocktails, and they're fantastic. It's so subtle, but it is so lovely. And you actually feel the electromagnetic energy change within you. You really do.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we could talk for hours. I know
yes,
that. But I want everybody to know, since my classes are kind of just opening the door to these different modalities, I want people to know a little bit about your classes. If they really want to get into the nuts and bolts of essential oils, tell them how they can go to your website and sign up for your classes.
So my website is just AllisonStillman.com. And I have different levels of classes. And if you're just getting started, what I really recommend is the Sacred Art of Aromatherapy, because it's an introductory class that will take you through what aromatherapy is, what essential oils are, how they're made, how to take care of them, what I call the sacred 7, which are the oils that I think everyone should be using and the reasons why and how to use them. And so it's a very basic introductory course, which is a great place to start. And then I also have a course on the sacred art of anointing, which is a practice that I brought back from the ancient times of Egypt that was practiced in the temples of Egypt, and which is what my book is about. And I've been practicing that rite of passage with people for the last 30 years. And that's a much more advanced use of essential oils and bringing in sound therapy and Reiki and crystals and angels and all kinds of other things. But good place to start is the Sacred Art of Aromatherapy.
And to also read your book, which is of the same title. The Sacred
Art. The Sacred Art of Anointing.
Anointing, yes. And it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for getting together with me and my students. And I so appreciate your knowledge, and you're such a good teacher. And
Aww.
so thank you.
Let's do it again.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, love.
Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Love you too, sweetheart.